Welcome to the Joyfulicity podcast. I'm your host, Laura Wakefield, and I am delighted today to have as my guest, Brooke Perales. I've known Brooke since she was a little girl. Her mom, Heather, was a good friend of mine back when I lived in Northern Virginia. And I remember Brooke as being such a sweet and thoughtful young woman. And then after I left the area, I have followed her on Facebook and watched her become such a strong and powerful adult woman and presence. I've watched her handle some hardships that life has tossed her way with so much resilience and grace. And I was so excited to see that she had recently started a business called The Divine Seed based on her passions. And we're going to talk about those in a minute. But I was so impressed that I immediately asked her if she would be a guest on the show to talk about all of that stuff. So welcome, Brooke. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be part of this.
Yeah. So your business is based on herbs and products. And tell us about the Divine Seed.
So this is kind of a path that I have started on my own. I think I've always had kind of a love for nature. I remember as a kid, my mom would plant these beautiful plants and she would have gardens, and her love of earth and plants is just contagious to everybody that sees her and knows her. And I think that is what stuck with me as a kid. And then also, we would take family walks and I would pick up, these little rocks and these little, flowers that I thought were amazing. And I think that is what started my love of herbs and nature and the true gifts that the earth has for us to use. And so in that sense, I have started a business creating herbal products to help people with herbal needs.
So what kinds of people would come to you for your products? What kinds of issues would they be having that can be helped through herbal medicine or herbal treatments? What do you call it? What would you say? Herbal?
I just call it herbal mixtures. I think I create lotions, I do pills, I do decoctions, I do teas. Really, I make everything. And it is for anybody and everybody. There are so many products out there that we use that are, great and wonderful, but don't always do the complete job that we need. I've always had skin sensitivity. My kids have had eczema. There's a lot of other underlying things that I've wanted to correct and help in myself and in other family members that they just can't find on a shelf or they haven't been able to find a product for. And so this is a way for me to create those things specifically for people and for their needs and what they most need it for.
Because you customize each and every product that you send out directly to the needs of that particular customer, correct?
Yeah, I do have a line. This is my basic line, and this one is anybody can get it and take it. It is just a basic line that I sell for everybody, but I do individual consults and individual products for specific people as well.
That's amazing. I've never heard of anybody doing that before. And I think that was what I got most excited about when I saw that, because that's very unique. Herbs are getting more attention again. I think for a while there was a bit of suspicion in the public's mind that it didn't seem as legitimate, maybe as a medicine or, something like that. But I think we're coming to understand that actually in many ways, they're more natural and it makes more sense to your body. Your body knows what to do with an herb. It doesn't know what to do with some of our medicines, right?
Yeah, and I always, I'm a type 1 diabetic. So for me, I, grew up having to use insulin every single day. And so I do believe that there are medications that are needed and that our body, needs to survive and to live on. But I also feel like there is a good mixture between herbs of the earth and, medicines, and finding a good combination of both so that your body has the absolute best way to run and grow and really find your truest happiness within your body.
I love that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
You know, we can have both and have. So tell me about some of the herbs and what they do. I don't know a lot about it. I've always been intrigued by it, but I don't know a lot about herbal remedies. So tell me about
Yeah.
some of the more common ones and what types of things that they're used for.
Oh, so I have so my gift. I have so much knowledge and I've learned so many uses of different herbs and different um products, and I read books and I go on walks with other people and we do nature walks and we share our knowledge within the community with so many people, and likewise they share it back with me. And that is my truest knowledge, is what I've learned in books, what I've read, what I've been taught, what I've you know spent years and years learning. And then on top of that, I go in and I create things with my knowledge and with the knowledge of these herbs. But when I create, I have the gift of knowledge, but I also have a gift of my hand. And so, what I think in my head, I'll be like, oh, this herb is specifically for pain. And so, in my head, I will go in and I will think and I will create all of these mixtures that I believe should be used together for pain or for whatever I'm creating this remedy, this mixture for. And I will create these things in my head. And then when I go, I use my hand, which is my gift. It heats up for me. And some people call it witchy. I think it's more of a divine gift. You can call it whatever you want. But I have jars of herbs, many of them, and they all have labels on them. And I will touch them with my hand. And the ones that I need will heat for me. And I'll pull them all out. And then I will use both my knowledge and what I pulled. And I will look at them. And sometimes I'll be like, why would I pull this? This is not something that in my book ever has said that will, help this headache or help, this is a weird combination. I don't know why I pulled it. And I will take some time and I'll go back. And when you go back and you read, ancient times and ancient ancestral uses of these herbs are not always used today for what their truest and most natural form is. And so a lot of the times I'm like, oh, duh, like this could be a great combination. And then when I use it, I'm like, this was the most amazing thing. It worked the most amazing. And it was more than what I had expected, because my knowledge teaches me something, but my hand also gives me an extra help in that area. And so I think it's always nice to have both. And I feel like I'm learning at the same time. But I also feel like I'm sharing that learning with other people and people who maybe wouldn't have thought of that, because that is not what it's used for today. And there
Well,
are
it's kind of a mixture then of like things you've read about and also intuition that you're following when you make the stuff.
Yes. And a lot of the herbs that we have growing in our backyard, we have rosemary, we have cilantro. A lot of those things can be used medically. They can be used to assist in things. But so many herbs have so many benefits. So there's not really one that has specific benefit. There are so many benefits of each herb. So it's really amazing to see that, these plants that are growing in our backyard, these weeds that we try and get rid of on a daily basis, have some great benefits to them.
So how did you discover that you had that sort of intuitive gift?
I think as I started creating to kind of find things that worked for me and my family, I started going to stores and collecting the herbs that I felt like I needed. And one day I was in this store and I reached out to touch the jars to, pick them up for the ones that I thought I needed. And this jar was like on fire. And I knew that I needed it. I don't know how. I just knew that I needed this one jar. And so I took that herb with me, and it was the first herb that I've ever used. And I created this amazing lotion, and I still use it today. But yeah, I mean, it just happened.
Wow, that's interesting. I do find that when I talk to people that oftentimes we find our true callings in life by accident.
Yes, I agree. I
And it
think
takes
that,
us as much by surprise as anybody else. But I love that you didn't dismiss that you decided to follow that call and use it to help other people.
yeah, it is truly a gift. And I really enjoy watching people who have struggled with not finding things that work for them, not being able to find something, and spent years dealing with, a headache that they've taken medication for. They've tried everything else and it just has never been able to be resolved. And then being able to find something like an herb that is a natural remedy and that they can take, and it has helped them and changed their life. That is where I find my absolute most joy, is watching people light up with energy and joy when I share what I love with them.
For sure. I love that. And so do you use like essential oils from the herbs, or do you crush them? How do you get the essence out of the herbs?
Yeah. So with the lotions, I take the herb and you infuse it in water. I mean, in the mixture. So you'll infuse it with the oils, with the shea butters, with things like that, and then it the herb itself like infuses into the lotion product, and that is what makes the mixture. And you strain out all of the herb when you're done with it. With decoctions, that is what I do with water. So you'll put the herb in the water and let it simmer, and that is how the herb is infused into the water. And you strain the water. It's almost like a tea, where
Yeah.
you take the herb and let it sit like that. An infusion is something like that. I also crush mixtures for pills, for capsules, things like that.
That's really cool. See, I
Yeah.
love stuff like this because like you're saying, like I've dealt with headaches all my life. And you can take Excedrin, but that's a pretty strong substance to be taking often, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like something more natural for the body is better.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes we get stuck in this idea that medicine is a quick fix, right? We all want to take an Advil or something to get rid of the pain right now, because that is what our biggest desire is. But at the end of the day, we still have whatever the underlying issue is that's causing that pain or causing that, you know, issue. And so I think a lot of the times what the herbs do is they take a little bit longer to work, but they work the body from the inside out and correct the issue that is the underlying problem. So it's not a quick fix all the time, but it is a fix that fixes all. So that's why I love it, is it's a natural fix for our bodies and not something that's going to cause a ton of side effects or things like that.
That's wonderful. And I loved on your website. So I visited your website, thedivineseed.com, and you had lots of pictures of nature and talking about that connection that we have to nature. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think in addition to the herbs, I think it's that connecting to that divinity that comes to us through nature that's part of the healing, right?
Yeah, I I truly believe that nature is such a gift to us and our land, and it truly is. I mean, these are plants and animals and, you know, beings that have grown for the benefit of all of us. Trees and all of these things bring beauty and joy, but also they are what brings health and strength to our land and our. So I really feel like nature is a gift to us, and to be able to use it in that kind of way is a gift as well. I was talking with my mom the other day, and I was saying how sometimes we get kind of put into a society bubble where we feel like we have to have a yard that looks like this, or we have to be a mom that is like this, or we have to have, a job that looks like this. And sometimes we're so stuck in being one kind of person that we forget that, if we're open to new ideas, if we're open to new perspectives, if we're open to learning new ways, there is so much joy to be learned, so much joy to be found. And, maybe that bubble does work for you. Maybe, living that way does work, but sometimes it doesn't. And I think we have to find where it works for us and where it works for ourselves to find whatever joy we need to find in our own life.
I absolutely agree with that. That's a lot of what I teach about as well, that life just doesn't always go the way that we think it's going to. And I know you know that. Like, you're a single mother, right?
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we share that in common. And that's not usually what we think is going to happen when we
That is,
start off on that journey. And sometimes when we get derailed, we think that, well, we think we've been derailed and that life is now off track. And the truth is, this is just another part of it. It's just part of our path, it's part of our journey. And kind of accepting that and being open-minded makes all the
yeah.
difference. That we're going to just walk this path now instead of
And
this.
maybe there is lesson to learn in that, right? I always look and I'm like, oh, dang it, I made that choice again. But
Yeah.
I think there are lessons to learn, or lessons that we maybe needed to learn, that help us get to where we need to get to. I know that I wouldn't be on this path or doing this if I hadn't had gone through a lot of the things that I went through in my past. So I'm, as much as that I've had heartache, and as much as I've had, hardship, I think a lot of the times that is where I have gained the most, strength and stripes. And I honor that, because that is what has made me, soft to people and see people from another perspective. Because a lot of times, maybe I wouldn't have seen those things or felt that way or been able to connect to somebody like that, because I hadn't had the same experience. And now that I have, I've met some amazing people and felt some things that maybe I wouldn't have had the ability to do if I hadn't have had those experiences.
Exactly. And I like what you said, that, well, now I'm going to forget what you said, but that you might not have even asked the questions, as if life was going the way you expected, you probably would have just kept right on doing it and never even opened yourself to the herbal path, or maybe never even found some of your personal spiritual gifts. Or, when things are going well, sometimes we just exist in that, and that's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes it's those rocky paths where we learn the most and discover things that we never would have discovered.
That is so true.
So entrepreneurship, starting a business, it's not an easy path. And I think you have to have the right temperament for it. And I've discovered that some people just would absolutely hate it, but for others, it just opens them to this whole other world of just sort of living your own way.
Yeah. Yeah. It is truly about sharing whatever gift or whatever you have to offer with all. And I think that is a gift in of itself, is somebody, who can share, even if you aren't on that path or on the same, mindset, even sharing what you have in your job, or even sharing in what you have as a mom or a role model or as a teacher. I think there are so many people and so many women and men and children and teenagers and just all who have such a gift to share their love and their knowledge with whatever they're doing. And that is what creates such a happy place to live and a happy place to be. And I just love watching people find what they love and sharing that with others.
I totally agree with you on that. That's really, I think, what makes life the most beautiful, is when we start living from a passion-based place.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes those shakeups in life to make us realize that that we should be doing that. And we can look back on life and realize how grateful we are. Like, I liked that you said you honor that, because
Yeah.
it puts you on a totally different trajectory, totally different mission. And think of the people that you'll be able to help because you're on that mission.
And I think that as we, as you share your podcast, I think whoever sees it or whoever is in tune with that it will light them up in a way, and they will be able to share what they love with other people. And I feel that way about what I do when I give my gift of mixture to somebody who needs it, and it helps them, with their headaches or with their pain or with, their skin, and it gives them a little bit more of the ability to share their light, because now they don't have that pain or that headache or that insecurity with their skin or whatever it is. Then they can radiate that light out to everybody else. And I feel like that is, if everybody's helping everybody else, that's where the joy and the happiness, and it makes our world just a better place, I feel like.
Well, and I feel like I sense, because I try to be pretty intuitive about who I'm inviting to come on the show as well, and I really felt drawn to you, and this business that you're doing, because I feel like when people come to you, they're getting more than just a product. I feel like they're getting kind of a safe, nurturing space as well.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
So pain, headaches, skin issues, what other kinds of ailments would
Oh,
be
I've
helped
done
by
it
your?
all. I do things for hair. We do things for skin. We do like internal body. So kidneys, stomach. I've done it all. I've created it all. I have many people that come to me all the time that need, a new mixture for, new skin problems, or I think a lot of times we don't realize that what we eat and what we take in have external effects on our body. So a lot of times when we eat something that upsets our stomach, it appears on our skin, or it appears somewhere else, or what we're doing on the inside. We don't always know what is causing that problem. But when I go to create, that is what I'm focused on, is whatever their ask is for, and that is how I create what I make.
So if somebody has something like, what about things like anxiety?
Yeah, I do other things like that as well. I've helped with depression and anxiety and ADD and things like that. And I never tell people that I create cures. I never tell people that I create really remedies, because our body is always changing. As people, we're always changing. Our environments are always changing. And so what I'm creating is a divinely inspired herbal mixture that is best for your highest and best physical self right now in this place. But as your body changes and as things change, you'll need something else. And sometimes there is a cure, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it needs two, you know, medication plus herbs. Sometimes it needs only medication. I mean, it's whatever really works for you and whatever is best for yourself and your own body. And that's where I hope that everybody finds, what works for them, because I found what works for me and what works for me and my family and my friends. But there are times when it just doesn't work for you, and that's okay. Whatever works best for you is right.
Well, and again, to emphasize, this isn't necessarily meant to replace your doctor or replace traditional medicine, maybe just to supplement that, or in addition to, or where the traditional methods haven't been effective.
Yes.
So it's very individual. So, Brooke, I do have another question for you, but before I ask that, tell everybody, where do they find you?
So I am on Facebook. The Divine Seed is my page, so they can find me on there. I also have a website, thedivineseed.com. And that is where all of my information is and where I can be found.
And if somebody is saying, well, if somebody listening is saying, well, I do have this sort of this skin thing or this hair thing, they'll go to your website, and what happens from there? They sign up for a consultation?
Yeah. So there's two options. There is a consultation on my website, so they can click it, sign up for a consultation. That is a quick 20-minute consult. It comes with, whatever herbal mixture you need and whatever you're looking for. But it also helps you kind of figure out what you're looking for. For somebody else who already kind of has an idea what they want and what their need is right now, there is a spot to just tell me what you need. And that doesn't include the consult, but it does include the mixture of whatever you need created for you, and then the shipping.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, either or. If they already are familiar with herbal remedies, they can just get right to it. And if they're not sure what they need, they can actually talk with you about it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I will put links in the bio description for this episode, also to all of the places that Brooke talked about. So the last question that I have, we've kind of covered this already, but just to cover it more specifically, this podcast is based on joyful living and being happy in your life. How does getting in touch with nature and passion-based living and herbal remedies and all of the things we've been talking about, how does that relate directly to getting on a path toward more joy in your life?
So for me, I believe that when you find joy within nature or joy within whatever you're doing, and for me, that is herbs, that is creating things that help other people and sharing my love of that with others. I think when we share our own joy, that is what creates joy for not only ourselves, but for all who see it, use it, live it. And that is the truest joy, right? Sharing our love and our joy with others and allowing other people to share their love and joy with us as well. And I think that is a true form of being joyful in what you do and joyful in how you live.
I love that, because it all starts with nurturing your own self and getting some of these problems solved so that you have that joy to spill out to others.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Brooke, thank you so, so much for coming on today and sharing this. And everybody go check out thedivineseed.com and the Divine Seed on Facebook and get to know Brooke Perales. As you can tell, she's very intuitive. She's just a lovely woman. And I'm excited to try some of these products myself. So thank you, Brooke.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for joining me today on the Joyfulicity podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share, and come follow me on all major social media sites at Joyfulicity or on my website, joyfulicity.com. You can follow the link in the description for this episode to all of the places that we can connect. Have a great day, everybody, and remember, dare to dream, plan to play, live to learn.